Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are on the planet, to the Trade Day team. And welcome to the Tuesday, the 22nd of April, Bull versus Bear webinar. Steve Miley here on the call for Trade Day. Welcome, everyone. We'll go through our usual regular run through in here today. I know Duncan ran through yesterday, the Monday bigger picture outlook. I'm just going to dip into that as well going today. Don't forget, you can access those in the middle column where you are looking right now, below where you're looking right now. So if you're watching this, given you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're watching the live um, webinar, or you're watching this on the recording in the members area, below you have on the left-hand column technical analysis, the daily technical analysis reports, which we'll come to shortly. Then we also had the middle column with the macro matters and macro summary. I'm not going to go through any depth because I know Duncan went through this yesterday on Monday. And then on the right-hand column, you've got the news reports from our partners at LiveSquawk. So just to dip very quickly into this, more really looking to what we've got going into this week. EU consumer confidence. A very light week for macro data in here. Really, US durable goods orders is the main data point. Global data, the big data point, is the global flash PMI that we get on Wednesday tomorrow. And then on the earnings side, Tesla today is going to be important. And then also Alphabet on Thursday, the big two standouts there. So I'm not going to go into any more depth. Really, not the breaking news, the big news so far this week has then been Trump's attack, or yesterday's news, Trump's attack on Powell, and that negativity in here, further destabilizing financial markets. Another reason to be negative on potentially the US. We're in a risk-off scenario. I just want to highlight this. Risk-off scenario. What do? You sell stocks, you buy bonds. And then you buy safe haven currencies. Now, usually the US dollar is right up there. But when the US economy is the problem, when the US system is the problem, then the US dollar sells off. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing what we're seeing. Obviously, gold goes up as well. So gold's on a new all-time high. But we're not seeing this flight to quality into the US bond market and into the US dollar that you would normally see. And we've seen it's been a seismic shift since post Liberation Day of, global investor, I guess, distrust of the US system. Unfortunately, that's not good. Not only is it not good for the US, it's not good for the planet. It's not good for the global economy to have that. Because the money goes elsewhere, but the stability that the US has afforded, and there's just trust in that, and that's from the US as well. From within the US as well. There's concern, so it's not just external to the US; it's within the US. So it's a real issue, and so the US dollar is selling off. Normally in this scenario, bonds will be up in price, US bonds will be up in price, and US dollar will be strengthening, and it's not, and the opposite is happening. So, and this attack from Trump on Powell, and questioning, Powell, and questioning the fact, obviously he wants Powell to cut rates, but it's the Fed is independent. But we'll come to that shortly, though. But it's a negative to obviously hit markets yesterday. So yeah, we spoke about earnings. Tesla's the big one today. We've already had a host of earnings in here out. Actually see most of it in green in here. I'm actually just going to apply the filter in here because the filter's already on. Sorry, so there's a lot going on today. We're actually kind of almost at peak earnings in here at the moment. So there's a lot in there. This is just ticking that filter. So I was checking, I tick the filter where you only have the 3 stars. So these are the bigger currencies, the bigger companies, excuse me, the more important companies. But you see in here, it's still a long list, even with that one ticked in here. So the real one to watch today is going to be Tesla. That's not too after the bell, though. You can see in here after the market close. So we'll certainly be watching out for that. But we've had GE Aerospace in here today, Verizon reporting, and most of it in green in here this morning. The other thing to note in here, which I'm not sure if it was mentioned yesterday, but we go into blackout period. So the next Fed meeting, 6th and the 7th of May. And you see we go into blackout period in here from the Saturday the 26th. That's this Saturday coming. So this is the last week. We've only got today through Friday of Fed speakers, and then no more Fed speakers until the meeting. So keeping an eye on everything the Fed speakers have to say, really. If we go and take a look at the Bloomberg Morning Briefing Americas in here, focusing on gold, making another record high in here. There is a slight rebound on futures in here this morning after a significant down day yesterday. The market looking for to potentially to consolidate the losses from yesterday. The US making significant progress toward the deal with India is on the wires this morning after talks between Vice President JD Vance and the Indian PM. And what else do we have in here for you? Yeah, Tesla reporting later today. So that's where we are today. So investors fear Trump's attacks on Powell will pile on pain in here. Powell's removal would undermine the Fed's independence and potentially spur inflation. Move could hurt dollars' role as a reserve currency. We're already seeing that. Long-dated treasury yields up. That's yields up. And bond price is lower. Normally you would see bonds going up, as a flight to quality, flight to safety, but bonds going down in price, up in yield yesterday, and that's a real negative at the long end. That is particularly in here. That attack is not good for the Fed. It's not good for the credibility of the Fed, the independence of the Fed, and there's an article in here. What's known about whether Trump can fire Powell from the Fed in here. So I'm just going to share that one. I actually haven't gone through this in detail in here. So I'm going to share that with you guys. So hopefully you can access that on Reuters. I haven't gone through this, but it's very unclear at the moment whether Trump can actually fire Powell or not. In here, European shares fall as Novo sees US China. Trump's anti-Powell tirade adds pressure as well. US stock futures though this morning a slight bounce, but gold a new all-time high. Gold again new to all-time as Trump's Fed broadside sparks flight to safe haven. US stock futures rebound after setup and corporate earnings in focus. We mentioned that already. Tesla after the bell. And look, dollar close to multi-year lows versus the euro and the Swiss franc. Swiss franc doing particularly good. A classic safe haven play that moving into the Swiss franc and the euro within the G3 complex. G3 being dollar, euro, and yen. The euro doing particularly well against the dollar at the moment. US earnings are to offer clues on how much tariffs will boost prices. So we're certainly looking out for some guidance as well in here and forward guidance as we go through the earnings season. Not just on the current numbers, but what's the guidance like? What are the concerns around potential tariffs? If we if we run through even what's happened overnight in here, Nikkei you can see very, very slightly down in here. Hang Seng up by just under 0.8. European stock exchange is mixed, but not particularly significantly changed this morning. UK FTSE up 0.25%, the German DAX nearly 0.5% down, and the French CAC down about 1/3%. And as we said, US stock futures managing a rebound in here this morning after the big sell-off yesterday. Nearly 1% up already in here for the S&P and the NASDAQ this morning. So significant rebounds. But remember, we were down 2+% yesterday. Let's take a look at the Fed watch tool. Pretty much no chance in here of a rate cut. 92% chance we remain unchanged at the May meeting that we have upcoming. But by June, we are looking for a rate cut now. Only 31% chance that rates are not down by 25 basis points at June. And by July, we are, 57, 63% chance in here that we've had 2 rate cuts by July. So looking for rate cuts in here, 25 in June, 25 in July. And by year end, we're sitting in somewhere in here, it's up to now 4 rate cuts, looking for another 2 after the June and July, another 2 now going into the end of the year. Now is what the Fed watch tool is pricing in. But bond yields ticking back higher in here. And this is the real concern. Remember, when we were up in here above 4.5%, the market was very jittery, very, very nervous in here of a dislocation, of a lack of faith in the bond market. We're creeping back. We crept back up towards there yesterday. Back lower in yields this morning. So that's definitely a positive in here that we're doing that. For us, though, we stayed negative in here on the long end in here, US 30-year. But the US 10-year staying bullish. So you see the slightly longer end, and certainly the 2s and 5s still looking bullish. So still looking for the short end is still looking bullish. That's higher prices, lower yields, because we're still looking for those rate cuts to come through. But you see the long end here is staying very bearish. That sell off at the long end is the real concern in here. This is a lack of faith in the US economy, and that's the real concern in here. Remember, the longer end of the curve more reflecting concerns around inflation, concerns around the actual economy. The short end of the curve, fives and twos, really reflecting the short-term outlook for interest rates. And if we look at the equities in here, we've gone back bearish after yesterday's sell-off. Yes, we've had a rebound this morning, but that significant roll lower. We've given back nearly half of the rebound in most cases in here for both the Nasdaq and the S&P. And that yesterday we gave up half of the recovery, and that's a real concern. That recovery obviously being spurred by the pause in tariffs after the big sell-off after Liberation Day. The pause in tariffs saw the rebound, but we've given back over half of that, and we can see that here. Yesterday's sell-off in here, giving back over half of the recovery. If I go and show you on, so here's the ES, and we'll go and take a look at a Fibonacci. So there's the full recovery in here, and you can see in here we're down over halfway down on that full rebound in here. We're more than half back in here on the ES, and same thing the Nasdaq. Significant sell-off. Yes, we've had a rebound, but we go and take again a look in here of the recovery in here. And we'll see that we're down more than 50%. Yesterday we're down more than 50%. So we're giving back half of the rebound that we saw after the tariffs are paused. So this still leaves you now. We've got succession of lower lows and lower highs for both Nasdaq and the ES. So it's still looking negative going into today. Now that can reverse around. Obviously the main things we're watching today. We have no real significant data of note in here. Let me just go back to the calendar in here. So you see EU consumer confidence, nothing out of the US in here today of any real note. So the real focus, let me just quickly pop up though. I do want to quickly pop up in here. Should already be logged in here. Let me quickly switch that in here. Oh, sorry, 1 second, guys. I'm going to quickly pop this out before we hear my voice playing in the background. Here we go. So you can see in here we do have Harker speaking, Harker and Kashkari today. So I said we're going into the blackout period. Harker at 9:30 Eastern, Kashkari at 2 o'clock Eastern. So certainly watching out for those two today. No data of real note in here, but watching out for Harker 9:30 and Kashkari at 2 o'clock today. And then after the bell tonight, we do have Tesla. So watching out for Tesla. But I think the main thing is watching out any updates on tariffs, any updates on that situation with the Fed. Does Powell say anything? Does Trump? I very much doubt Powell say anything. Does Trump back off? Do any of the Fed speakers today ask any questions about in here? Where's I've lost the calendar in there. Oh, here we go. Do Harker or Kashkari ask questions? It's going to be difficult for them to answer, obviously, and it's a real unknown. Where we stand with that, whether he can literally fire him. So so there's lots still going on, lots of moving parts. I would certainly keep that squawk on, guys, watching out for any updates on tariffs, any further monitoring any social media activity out of the White House, out of Trump, and then see where it takes us. And outside of that, we've got obviously say Harker, Kashkari, and then Tesla after the bell. All right, guys, I'm going to wish you all a great trading day. Take care, stay safe, and I'll be back with you with another Bull versus Bear webinar on Wednesday tomorrow.